On June 23, 2012, at the Dade and Homestead Correctional Facility in the unincorporated county of Miami-Dade, a team of guards were doing a head count of each of their prisoners during a long night shift. Little did any of them know they'd find one prisoner missing, 50-year-old Darren Rainay. When the guards go to look for him, they find his lifeless body lying face up in one of the facility's showers and are shocked to see the state he was in. Just what happened to this hapless inmate? To this day, no answer has been found. This is the brutal and chilling death of Darren Rainay. Dade Correctional Institution, located about 40 miles south of Miami, opened in September 1996 and houses approximately 1,500 inmates convicted of various offenses in Florida. The facility accommodates both violent and non-violent offenders, with some inmates sharing cells and others, particularly those in the Transitional Care Unit, TCU, living alone. The TCU additionally serves as the prison's psychiatric ward. It was this particular ward that one prisoner, Darren Rainay, an African-American man born on January 12, 1962, was placed in due to his severe diagnosis of schizophrenia, serving a 2-year sentence for cocaine possession that began in August 2011 and was set to end in summer 2012. Rainay exhibited untreated behaviors, including earlier convictions for violent behavior that resulted him being diagnosed in the first place. Throughout his sentence, Rainay was confined to the TCU, where he received psychiatric care and antipsychotic medication and was monitored by guards through a glass window in his cell door. While most of the time, save for some lewd behavior and sometimes refusing to bathe of his own free will, Darren was a well-behaved inmate, although his illness profoundly affected his ability to function and led to repeated encounters with the criminal justice system. By the time of 2012, the care required to ensure his continued health was little more than a chore and bothersome statistic for the guards of Dade Correctional Institution. Rainay's placement in the psychiatric ward of the prison was supposed to ensure he received appropriate mental health care. Instead, it became a setting for extreme neglect and mistreatment. His mental health issues, which required compassion and medical intervention, were met with cruelty and punitive measures by the very people entrusted with his care. On June 23, 2012, this would come to a head when one of the guards who would check on each of the prisoners in the TCU every half hour found Rainay had smothered the walls and floor of his cell, as well as himself, in his own feces. The guards, instead of responding with medical care, decided the best course of action was to send one orderly to clean the cell, while another would escort Darren across the TCU to a shower farthest away with special fabrications for safety against inmates. This shower had been rigged so that the temperature could only be controlled from outside by the guards in order to prevent any tampering by the inmates for their own needs. The water temperature was reportedly capable of reaching 160 degrees Fahrenheit, and the room was 8 feet long by 3 feet wide, which in itself created nothing more than another cell the guards could lock prisoners in and control from the outside. At around 7:40 p.m., the guard tasked with taking Darren to the shower had reported that in typical fashion, Darren begrudgingly stripped his clothes as ordered, but refused to bathe. After having retrieved soap from another prisoner's cell, the guard returned and handed Darren the soap. When Darren refused further, the guard ultimately decided to lock the door and leave Darren in with the hot water until he complied, something that even with rebellious inmates should have lasted only 20 minutes. By the time Darren was finally removed, 2 full hours would have passed. Understandably, the confinement of the shower and the heat of the water and steam inevitably created a small pool, which would have been inescapable to Darren. And even as guards reported Darren was standing in the corner of the shower, still unwashed but allegedly unharmed, they continued to let him suffer. However, witnesses in the form of other inmates, who would later witness Darren's body being wheeled out on a gurney to on-site medical personnel, told a different story. Witnesses, which included other prison staff, such as nurses that would attempt to save Darren's life, later recounted hearing Rainay's desperate screams and pleas for help as he begged to be let out. Rainay was eventually quoted as screaming at the top of his lungs as the water and steam nipped at his skin until it was pink and beginning to peel of his body like soggy sheets of paper. "Please, I can't do it. Let me out. I won't do it again." Despite his cries, the guards ignored him, and after the 2 hours had passed, 6 of the guards would play the fool and later rush with the gurney to the shower, where Darren was found dead, lying in a pool of water, with his body having been boiled alive. Nonchalantly, after wheeling him to the medical staff, who would give every genuine ounce of effort to save Darren, a report was filed to local law enforcement and statements were taken. After that night, an investigation was set up into the death, but quickly stagnated and fell through the cracks. In the immediate aftermath, the Department of Corrections initially downplayed the incident, and the death was classified as unexplained. No immediate disciplinary actions were taken against the guards involved, and it took 2 years before any staff faced consequences, with the warden being fired and 2 officers being promoted during this period. The initial police investigation into Darren Rainay's death was superficial, failing to hold anyone accountable. Only after investigative journalism by the Miami Herald did the case receive the necessary attention, prompting a thorough investigation that revealed troubling facts about Rainay's death and the culture at Dade Correctional Institution. Allegations of a cover-up by state and federal officials emerged, highlighting discrepancies between official reports and independent findings. While the Miami-Dade medical examiner ruled Rainay's death accidental, other experts strongly disagreed. Inmate testimonies and reports suggested the shower was used as punishment, with at least 8 other prisoners subjected to similar treatment. The legal response to Rainay's death has been widely criticized as inadequate, with no criminal charges filed against the prison staff involved. Miami-Dade State Attorney Catherine Fernandez Rundle's decision to clear the officers sparked outrage and calls for justice from organizations like Amnesty International and the ACLU. The unnecessary and likely conspired death of Darren Rainay has since become one of countless examples of the failures within the correctional and legal systems in the U.S. The urgent need for systemic reforms to ensure the protection of inmate rights and the humane treatment of all individuals, regardless of their mental health status or incarceration, has become more clear than ever. If you enjoyed this video, kindly leave a like and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.